Hey everyone! Today we're going to compare two sleeping pads, the NEMO Tensor versus the Sea to Summit Etherlite XT. They are both really great sleeping pads and it can be hard to decide between the two. Hopefully by the end of this video you'll know which pad is right for you. If you're interested in either one or both of these, go ahead and visit the links below and you'll find a full review of each sleeping pad. If you're new to the channel, my name's Roxy and I'm part of the Adventure Junkies team. We help people like you choose the right gear to get outdoors. If you want to learn more, go ahead and visit the website at www.theadventurejunkies.com. Now for what you really came for, the NEMO Tensor versus the Sea to Summit Etherlite XT. So both of these pads are really incredible pads. The NEMO Tensor is an ultralight pad, it's inflatable, it is one of their best selling pads, and the Sea to Summit is sort of considered gold standard of inflatable sleeping pad comfort. And as you can see, I've used both of these many times, and they both roll up into their boxes, which is really promising. A lot of times you will get a sleeping pad out, try and roll it back up, and it just won't even fit. So that is really nice that these maintain the size they were when they are delivered to you, or however you get them. They both are sticking out a little bit out of the top of their pads, but overall, like, pretty impressive. You can slide them back into their boxes. So I'm gonna take them back out. All right, so here we are. Both of these sleeping pads come with a pump sack, a storage sack, and in this case, they are one and the same, and a patch kit. And let's pull a water bottle here. This is a 32-ounce water bottle. So this Tensor is, I would say, identical in size to the water bottle, which is pretty awesome. If you can fit a water bottle, you can fit the Tensor. Here on the Etherlite, I would say it is a little bit larger than this 32-ounce water bottle, maybe a little wider and a little taller, especially with the stuff sack being on one side. So you just have to amount for a little bit more space in your backpack if you are bringing this into the backcountry with you. All right, so let's inflate both of these and see how they do inflating wise. I know that they have two different systems. We will start with the Tensor, NEMO Tensor. So it comes with this sweet little band around it, which is really awesome. It keeps it compact, and if you're going ultralight, you could ditch the sack and just bring the band, or the other way around and put it in the sack. The patch kit is tucked into the stuff sack, so if you don't bring your stuff sack, be aware that you need to pull the patch kit out and tuck it in before going into the backcountry, because if you get a hole in your sleeping pad, you will have a bad night. You'll be sleeping on the ground, especially with these inflatable sleeping pads. So normally this is packed inside. I actually had the stuff sack out already. So here is the pump sack. Here's the pump sack. It is very clear by NEMO, the directions. Valve, very obvious. The other important thing I want to point out is that it mentions being 6 inches away from this area while you're blowing. If you are blowing right here, it's gonna take a lot of effort to inflate the bag. If you move 6 inches away, creates like a whirlwind and you get a much bigger bag of air. Here is the valve system. This is a 2-part valve system. So there is the deflate option, which is all the way pulled open, and then the inflate option, which is snaps into here. Here, click, and then there's all the way closed option. And as you can see, it's a low profile valve system. It sort of lies flat and on the side, which is really nice when you're sleeping. You're not gonna like run into it. So this clips on where it says valve, and it all gives you like kind of a satisfying click when you know you've got it in correctly, which is, it's a nice system. So one big bag of air. So that's one. Two, and that's 3. All Alright, so we're mostly pumped up, but I'm going to add a little bit just to top off to make sure it is all the way inflated. Yeah, alright. Like 3.5 there. And then you just pop this off. Careful not to inflate it all. And then there is a nice little nozzle in here that you can really fine-tunely deflate to your comfort. I like to leave it fully inflated. It's helpful with the R value, and we'll chat about that when we talk about R values. So here is the tensor inflated. So it's Etherlite XT. One side is the pump sack. The other side is the sleeping pad. So it uses the same technology to blow up sort of a whirlwind. Pretty obvious where it plugs in. Blow at least 1 foot into stuff sack opening to inflate. So it does also show you to move away from the entrance, the opening of the pump sack on this one as well. So also a 2-valve system here and low profile, same sort of thing, one deflate, one inflate. So I'm gonna plug it in, it's on deflate right now. I'm gonna open the inflate, and then I'm going to buckle this pump sack into the inflate and begin blowing up. Very similar systems, a little bit different designed pump sack, but really not at all that different. You see from far away, you get a nice big stuff sack of air. And it is nice to use these inflatable sacks because it keeps moisture out of the sleeping pads, and also it saves your breath. Like if you just got to camp and you've been hiking for hours, you don't want to like sit there and like puff and puff. So it is nice to have a little bit of a break from that. All right, I would call that 4. Maybe do one more just to see if we get any more in there. Nope. I'd say a solid 4. So very similar process. There's also the same type of little nozzle in here where you can deflate just to your preference. Very similar systems. Alright, so as a reminder, NEMO Tensor Etherlite XT. So at the time of recording this, both of these sleeping pads were the same price, $189. So about $190 for both of these pads. So you'd really want to do your research before purchasing one of these. It is only one part of your sleeping system, so you are going to have to purchase other things, a sleeping bag, a pillow, if that's something you need. So to spend $200 on just one part of your sleeping system is a lot of money. So you want to make sure you are getting the right sleeping pad for you, and that it's going to work for all of the different cases you want to use it for. Both of these are also super light. If you are really counting ounces, then there is a tad bit of a difference. The Etherlite XT weighs in at 17.3 ounces, which is 490 grams, whereas the NEMO Tensor is 15 ounces, which is 425 grams. So if you are counting those grams, the Tensor is going to be the smaller sleeping pad for you. The less, way less. The Tensor's going to weigh less. Both of them are really packable, as you saw when they were packed down. The Tensor is just slightly smaller than the Etherlite when they're packed down. So let's chat about R value for these. Both of these sort of have a similar R value. It's very close. The Tensor has an R value of 3.5 and the Etherlite XT has an R value of 3.2. If you're not familiar with the R value, it is a system of measurement for how warm soft goods will keep you. So sleeping bags, sleeping pads, It measures from 0 to 6+, and we have done some reviews of 6+ sleeping pads, and those are like sleeping in the snow in the Arctic, very, very warm. Whereas these at 3 in the mid 3s, I guess low 3 for the Ether Light. It's really going to be like a 3-ish season pad. So late spring into early fall. I am a cold sleeper, and therefore it's not going to last me as early into spring as late into fall. Whereas my partner is a warm sleeper, so he doesn't quite need as much warmth. So these pads would probably both last him early spring to late fall. You are going to want some type of 3+ R value, or you could bump it up with a different type of sleeping pad, a foam sleeping pad, to go under this to really be able to use your pad longer into the fall and earlier in the spring. If you were to just sleep right on the ground would seep the warmth from you. It would steal your warmth. So you are putting distance between you and the ground, both in the form of air as well as these like different pockets. So the sleeping pads will trap the air. You'll warm the air with your body, and that air will be reflected. That air will help reflect heat back at you, as well as stop the transfer of heat from your body to the ground. So that's a quick little R value overview. That being said, they have pretty similar R values, with the Tensor being slightly warmer than the Etherlite XT. So in terms of quality of the actual material, they are also pretty similar. The Tensor is made of 20D nylon, while the Etherlite is made of 30 and 40D nylon, so a little bit more durability with the Etherlite. With both these pads, you're going to want to be careful with punctures, because you puncture one of these in the backcountry and you're not going to sleep well at all. You're pretty much just sleeping on the ground. They do both come with patch kits. Sometimes it can be hard to find the hole. There's just like a ton of issues. So I would always sleep with a tent pad, a footprint, or if you're cowboy camping, definitely put something like this tarp between you and the ground to put the pad on. It'll help a little bit with warmth, a tiny bit, but it'll also protect your pad. You'll be able to keep it for a long time, especially because these are premium ultralight pads. They are expensive. You want to keep them nice for as long as possible. So definitely protect between you and the ground, because they are made of that 30D, 20D, 30 by 40D. Both are going to be durable. Using the lighter nylon makes them both lighter and thinner, so it's easier to pack them down into those nice small little compact stuff sacks. But it does come at a price. So just a little aside on the durability of these. Feel-wise, you know, they both sort of have the same feel. I wouldn't really want to put my face down on this and just sleep directly on it. I would want something between me and the actual material. They just sort of feel kind of like they would make you sweaty or something. So neither is like that comfortable for just laying directly on it. So let's talk about size here. They are actually the same size. It's just they are different shapes. So 70 inches long, which is 183 centimeters, by 20 inches wide, which is 51 centimeters. So when you hold them up here, the Etherlite is a mummy shape, so it tapers down by your feet, and that is why you see more material on the Tensor. If you're in a tent that also tapers and you have two sleeping pads, it's really nice that they both taper. They sort of fit nicely. They snug in there. You do lose some comfort if you are like flopping around. You won't have as much support down by your feet, but otherwise they are very similar in size. All right, let's go ahead and demo both these pads. Just right off the bat, before I get on them, it is clear that the Etherlite is thicker. We've got 4 inches between you and the ground, which is like super luxurious for a backcountry pad. 4 inches is 10 centimeters thick. That is a lot of space between you and the ground. It's gonna be elevated. It's gonna feel fancy, maybe even. I don't know, however you feel in the backcountry. The Tensor is 3 inches, which is like still really, really nice. A lot of pads are only 2 inches. So that is 8 centimeters thick. It's a really nice, comfy pad. I do know that the Etherlite is known for its comfort. as one of the most comfortable sleeping pads in the backcountry, but let's lay on them and find out. If you're enjoying this video, go ahead and hit the like button so more people like you can find it. So I am 5'6", just to get an idea of how long these sleeping pads are. Pretty comfortable, stable on the sides, not too noisy. My arms mostly stay on. So it's pretty comfortable, pretty stable, it's not too noisy. I'm 5'6" and I fit really well. I actually have a ton of room up here. So if you're taller, you could still use this regular sized pad. Pretty great, I'm not bottoming out, no hot spots at my hips or my shoulders. Still pretty stable. It does move a little bit. So if you're in the backcountry and you're on a hill, you might be a little worried about this slip sliding around while you're sleeping on it. All right, Etherlite. Yes, so even fully inflated, this is more comfy. Definitely more of like a mattress feel. Not too noisy, stable on the edges. Really, really comfy on my side. No hot spots, definitely supported. Feels nice. All right, so comfort-wise, I do think the Sea to Summit Etherlite XT is more comfortable than the NEMO Tensor. All right, so let's deflate these pads and see how they go and how hard or easy each one is to deflate. I will once again start with the Tensor. So they both have very similar valve systems, the two-layer valve. The Tensor sort of loses air immediately, which is really nice to be able to pack it down. I like to throw the pump sack right in there while I'm rolling it up. Okay. So far, really nice and easy. Just folds up, rolls up. I would not mind doing this day after day if I were through hiking with this sleeping pad. Okay, so really nice little, tiny little Tensor. I would call that low stress pack up. That was pretty easy. Let's try the Etherlite XT. Same valve system, you just pull the second valve, it dumps air. Do the same tri-fold on this one. So same thing, just rolling right up, not really fighting. All right. So folds up just as nicely. I would also call that really low stress to fold up, and I would do that on a through hike many times, no problem. Here we go. Slips into the bag, which is also very important. I hate having to wrestle something into its bag. Okay, so that side is packed, and then the other side is the pump sack. It's really nice that they are sort of comboed here. You're just not gonna lose the pump sack ever. All right. One of the cons of having the pump sack included here is if you're going ultralight, you can't dump the pump sack. You always have to have it with you. So if you're really trying to cut ounces, that could be an issue. All right, so let's sort of wrap things up with the NEMO Tensor versus the Sea to Summit Etherlite XT. Ooh, it's a mouthful. These are both pretty similar price-wise. In fact, they're identical price-wise. At the time of this filming, they're both $189. So right up there near the $200 price mark. You're gonna wanna make sure you are buying the pad that you will really love and use, because that is pretty expensive for one portion of your sleep system. So both are extremely similar in weight. If you are counting ounces though, the Tensor is gonna be the lighter sleeping pad. It is 15 ounces, which is 425 grams, while the Etherlite weighs in at 17.3 ounces, which is 490 grams. In terms of comfort, they are both super comfortable pads. I would say the Etherlite XT is the more comfortable of the two. It felt a little bit more like a mattress, and it was really comfortable on the side sleeping. So if you are a side sleeper, this would be an awesome choice for you. When it comes to warmth, the Tensor is just a slightly bit warmer. It is at 3.5 R value, while the Etherlite is 3.2. I would consider both of these 3-season pads. That is a very small difference, but if you are looking for the warmer of the two, that is the Tensor. Both of these pads are super easy to inflate and deflate. They sort of have very similar valve systems, even though they're two totally different companies. The biggest difference between the inflate and deflate is that the pump sack is included with the system here on the Etherlite, while it is separate from the Tensor. That only comes into play when you are maybe cutting ounces or grams for an ultralight through hike and you want to leave the stuff sack behind. You cannot do that unless you just leave the whole stack, like everything. You just take the naked sleeping pad and then tuck the patch kit in there somewhere, and you'd want to use something to keep it together in your pack. So that option is limited when you're using the Etherlite XT. So both of these pads are really for similar types of people: ultralight through hikers, climbers, bike packers, mountaineers, those looking to move quickly in the backcountry with light gear and still stay relatively warm with an R value around 3. The NEMO is going to be smaller in pack size, as well as have that separate stuff sack. It doesn't have the mummy shape, although both pads have multiple different shapes and sizes to choose from. So if you really like the features of one pad, you can sort of find a shape that would suit you better than just the mummy style or the rectangle style, the regular size in each. The Etherlite XT is slightly more comfortable, better for side sleepers. One thing I didn't mention is it also has this pillow lock system. So if you are all in on the Sea to Summit sleeping system, there's a pillow lock system with sort of stickies that you stick on the pad and then you stick on the pillow, and the pillow stays locked into place, so it's sort of a more comfortable sleep. You do have to purchase the Sea to Summit pillow or just the stickies and stick them onto another pillow. Those are from Sea to Summit. The NEMO is like maybe slightly noisier, but like by very little, and maybe slightly less comfortable, maybe slightly slidier. There is a slight difference in the material, the 20D versus the 30x40D. So very, very minuscule differences between the two. Really, if you're counting ounces, going for the warmest, smallest pack down, lightest weight, you're going to want to go with the Tensor. If you're looking for a little bit more comfort, you don't mind the weight, and a little bit of a lower R value, and you really like the system all packed together, then the Etherlite XT could be a great choice for you. Either way, they're both wonderful pads. They're kind of high in price, but you are getting really, really nice sleeping pads, comfortable, light sleeping pads for that high price. Happy hiking! Hey everyone, I really hope you enjoyed the video. If you have ever wasted money on gear in the past or just don't know what gear to buy, I really want to recommend this book. It's called The Beginner's Guide to Hiking Gear, and it has breakdowns and explanations of all the gear you'll need to get safely outside. It's organized into gender, size, weight, what type of hike you'll need it for, and it's really helpful for any beginner out there, or even someone who's more advanced but wants more suggestions on how to enjoy your time outside. You can buy it at Amazon, and it's available in both paperback and Kindle. Go ahead and click the link below in the description and check it out.